The world's leading association of genocide scholars says Israel's policies and actions in Gaza have met the legal definition of genocide. That announcement coming in a resolution passed by the group. They also say Israel's actions constitute war crimes and crimes against humanity, as defined in international humanitarian law. In its resolution, the association called on Israel to, quote, immediately cease all acts that constitute genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity against Palestinians in Gaza, including deliberate attacks against and killing of civilians, including children. Israel blasted the association's claim, calling the resolution, quote, an embarrassment to the legal profession and to any academic standard. It also argues the group's assessment is based on a campaign of lies by Hamas. Joining me now from Washington, D.C. is Emily Sample, an executive board member with the International Association of Genocide Scholars. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
So your association has declared that Israel's actions in Gaza meet the legal definition of genocide. What is the definition of genocide under international law, and what evidence has led your association to come to this conclusion?
Well, so the International Association of Genocide Scholars uses the same definition that is outlined by the United Nations in the UN Genocide Convention from 1948. And that outlines that there are 5 ways for a party to commit genocide, which specifically looks at the attacks on a group based on their racial, ethnic, religious, or national identity. And so what we found, what the resolution authors found in this resolution was that they were committing the atrocities across all 5 types of the definition of genocide. And the threshold for genocide is only one of those. So what we do see is the killing of members of the group. We see that there is causing of serious bodily or mentally harm. There's the deliberate inflicting of conditions of life calculated to bring about the group's destruction. There's measures intended to prevent birth, and there is the relocation of children. So as you'll see in the resolution itself, there's quite a bit of citation and evidence that is shown through the scholars' attempts to build the evidence base for all of those different aspects. And that evidence shows that those 5 acts are happening right now and have happened over the last 23 months.
And of course, there's no doubt you've seen Israel's response, strongly rejecting these claims, calling them politically motivated and based on misinformation. How does your association ensure the integrity and the accuracy of its findings?
Well, we're an association of scholars, so there is a level of professional academia that is ensuring that these claims are true, or at least up to a scholarly standard. In terms of looking at the evidence that we've accumulated in this resolution, the idea behind it is that it is not groundbreaking evidence. It is not a report. It is a resolution that shows specifically that our membership believes that all of these aspects are happening and that they are speaking up in a group against these actions.
And of course, critics often argue that war zones are complex and civilian casualties are tragic but unintentional. How do you distinguish between legitimate military action and acts that legally constitute genocide?
There is a threshold for collateral damage that war scholars will speak to, but the real difference is when understanding a genocide is the intent behind the extermination of a group, and as such, and that is what many of our scholars are speaking up against, is that there is this well beyond the threshold of what would be committed under war or under self-defense.
And so what do you hope will happen next in terms of an international response? Should the UN or the International Criminal Court get involved? What are the next steps?
What we are hoping is that this resolution is able to provide evidence and pressure for our policymakers and our civil society who work directly with policymakers to continue to pressure Israel towards a ceasefire and to bolster the evidence base for eventual ICJ or ICC hearings that will hopefully bring justice to the Gazans when that is possible.
Emily Sample, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Israel is now considering the possible annexation of parts of the West Bank. 3 Israeli officials tell CNN that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held an initial discussion on that idea last week. But the Security Cabinet has not discussed the matter and no decision has been made. It's just one of the steps Israel is weighing in retaliation for the anticipated recognition of a Palestinian state by a growing number of countries at this month's UN General Assembly. The latest to join that list is Belgium, which also plans to impose new targeted sanctions against Israel.